Debbie.
And I wanted to see if we could sing a song real quick to get the vibration up, and then we'll start, okay?
Yep.
So, everybody knows what, Beulah Land, or what do you think? Or In the Garden, something everybody knows.
How about, they'll know your spiritual spire love. Everybody know that one?
Yeah.
One verse.
Well, that's, I think all we need is one
Just do the
verse.
same verse over and over.
What is it?
They'll know we are spiritual spire love.
Okay, you start.
Oh, boy.
It's my
Morgan. We are one with the Spirit. We are one with the Lord. We are one in the Spirit. We are one in the Lord. And we pray that all dignity may one day be restored. And they'll know we are spiritualists by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are spiritualists by our love.
Cool. That's good. That's good, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to just say a prayer, and then I'll go into my thing. The light of God is in us, the love of God is in us, the strength of God is in us, the peace of God is in us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And we ask all our ascended masters, guides, and angels to be with us and help with this message today. Amen. For the highest good of everyone. So I just want to explain real quick how I started channeling Quan Yin for everybody. So I belong to a spiritualist church in Illinois called the JTEJ Crumbaugh Spiritualist Church in Leroy, Illinois. And when I was there, we learned about Camp Chesterfield in Indiana, where they train the spiritualist ministers, you know. So a bunch of us got together and we decided to take a road trip over there one weekend when they were having a psychic fair kind of thing. And I was walking around and I sat down next to a statue of Quan Yin, who I did know who was. She was at the time. And she's the Bodhisattva of compassion in the Buddhist religion. And she's a lot like Mother Mary. She looks after women and children. And she's in charge of the violet ray right now, and Reiki too. So she's kind of in charge of Reiki after Saint Germain kind of gave it to her. They kind of like rotate jobs. So she works with me with my Reiki practice too. And I sat down next to the statue, and this minister walked by, and I said, "Who is this statue of?" And she said, "Oh, that's Quan Yin, the goddess of compassion." And I said, I've been reading the Dalai Lama's book about compassion, and I'd like to learn more about compassion. So I asked her to be my guide. And then I didn't really think too much about it after that for a while, until I went to a Tibetan monks concert. And at the intermission, the person next to me didn't come back and sit down, but I felt a presence next to me, and so I said, "Who is this?" And she said, "It's Quan Yin, I've come to be your guide." Now, because I was in the Tibetan monks concert, my vibration had gone way up, and my whole body was already vibrating from the concert. And then she came in and she told me that, and I just started crying. I was like, it was just this magical moment. And then after that, I would channel her during our Reiki share groups. When I was on the table, she would come in, she'd give messages for everybody. So that was like once a week. And for myself too. And then when I moved to Arizona, I started doing public channelings of her like once a month. So that's what I'm up to now. So what I do is I'll go into a light trance. I don't go into full trance. So I'm aware, I'm awake, I'm not taken out of my body. I remember what she says, pretty much, more or less. And you can ask questions when she says she's open to questions, okay? And she tones a lot. So every once in a while she'll tone, okay? And the tones are for healing. And then a lot of times she'll go around to each person and give a healing tone, a blessing, at the end, okay? So if you guys want to do that, we'll probably do that too, okay? All right, so just give me a sec. And when you ask a question, try not to go into a long thing, like and don't respond back until later, because if you start like a big conversation, it'll pull me out of trance, okay? So just try to keep it short.
And non-personal, you said, right?
And non-personal, and just something more universal, okay? Namaste. Thank you for all being here. I'm Quan Yin, and I'm here to give you answers and answer your questions for all the Ascended Masters that you may have today. And we have a message briefly that we were given to Debbie in meditation yesterday. So, one thing that will be happening soon is there are going to be portals opening up in your skies with ships coming through. So you see our ships, and one in particular ship will be landing and greeted by dignitaries, I guess you would say, of your world in a white limousine. So you can look for that. We also have some sadder news to report that there will be a large corporation that will be, it will come out that they are using child slave laborers. And this will be a big thing that will reveal much of what has been going on with the children of the world. So this can be stopped. As you're all aware, there's many things being revealed now, but it's important to bring the dark into the light, as your sunflower always turns towards the sun, as you say. So we are here to help with that transition and to help everyone move up into the higher dimensions, as we will too. Because if you're not aware that we also continue to develop and grow and move on to higher dimensions as we help you in your path. So when you all realize your ascension, we will no longer be needed here, and we will continue on in our development. Because there are many, many dimensions and realities and universes to explore. It's divine consciousness. So what questions would you have for us today?
Is human trafficking ever stopping?
Yes, they're working very hard on that. And as I said, this thing coming out into the light will not be hidden any longer, and things will be stopped. But it's very insidious in your world. It's very deep and dark, and it has a long history, unfortunately. and it has taken a lot of effort, but it will be stopped.
What about climate change?
Those things are something that is a normal cycle of your planet that the Earth is going through. There's many cycles that cause different temperature fluctuations, and it's also because the tilt of the Earth was changed long ago in a cataclysm that made you have seasons, and it is moving back towards the center. It's coming more back into balance, and that is what it looks like. All these changes and things are going through, but it's a normal thing, and it's nothing to worry about. Something that you have to adjust to because it's part of the Earth's going back into her natural balance and do you call her rotation. But you will have to, some groups of people will have to migrate to different areas of the planet. Even areas that you're not aware of right now will actually be coming into a place where you can live there. So there will be shifting of people, as there always has been all through the Earth's history. But this is just something that you will have to adjust to. Some places that have not been habitable will become able to have people live there. So make up the difference. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Will the legendary Atlantis come back?
There are parts of Atlantis that are exposed, and not exactly. It won't rise from the ocean exactly like some people have said, but there are parts of it that you will become aware are still above the ocean. And those places will be more known for that they are part of that. And those people went underground. A lot of those people who escaped went underground, and you will be actually coming into contact with those people soon. So be on the outlook for that. When those people come forward, and they'll be able to teach you many things, and those of you who are chosen to go into their realms underneath the ground will go there and see how they've been living for these thousands of years. Away from us, away from people on the surface anyway.
When you say soon, how are you identifying time passing?
Well, to us, of course, time is different than how you see it, but it's relatively soon. As far as even your time, it won't be much longer. Within, let's say, the next 5 to 10 years. And some people have already been contacted. It's just not a lot yet.
In the last couple of weeks, we've had government official declare and disclose UFO phenomena. Is that misinformation or true information?
It's very true information as far as there are people from other worlds that come here and have been for many, many years, of course. But what they say and what they want you to know is probably not the total truth as far as we know it. As far as, let me back up. So, Jesus, Sananda works with the people from other planets. So we work with them to help you because they have also a belief in the Creator as you do. They also believe in the one Creator of everything. So they also have their spiritual enlightenment. And some are more advanced than the earth people. So they are helping you in many, many ways with technology, with the fight against the evil people who are doing horrible things to your children. They have been a part of this for a very long time. And Sananda and some of your political leaders from the past, like President Eisenhower and different people that you would recognize, also have been working with them for many years to help your consciousness and vibration raise to the point where they can interact with you in an open way. And that is coming soon. And you will see more and more of them in your skies, and until you all come in contact with them. But for now, they chose not to work through your governments because they cannot trust them. So they will speak to you individually. Because in the past, they have tried to talk to the governments and work with the governments and offer you peace for the planet, and it was rejected. So now they will talk to you directly. Needs to be the people's choice that they have contact and that they become members of the Galactic Federation of Worlds, or whatever you want to call it, the group of benevolent extraterrestrials who are trying to help. So when they all get here, please do not be afraid, because they are here to help us.
Do you work both on the collective consciousness of different countries or cultures, individuals? Which do you find gets us further ahead, I guess is what I'm asking. The individuals or the collective?
Well, you are all one, and you are all part of each other.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a hologram. One person reflects the whole. So it just is important to focus on your own development. It's very important to help the collective. Always. So what you see in the collective consciousness is very influenced by the media and by programming and things like that. So those who remove themselves from that kind of input usually develop, let's say, a more pure, uninfluenced consciousness, if they want to, if that's what they focus on. So to be in nature more and less in front of your television is the best thing we can advise. And not on your devices and things that are meant to program your brain in a certain way and influence you. So it's important to do your meditation and be out in nature and listen to nature.
How will we recognize that the ETs or what have you are reaching us individually? What would be a sign?
You will hear them telepathically in your mind first. And you will be called, like, have you ever had the urge to go outdoors at night and look up? That is them calling to you. Because you all have DNA, genetics from other races, from other places, because they seeded us here. So you have that in your DNA, and they can call to you, and you can respond to them. So just when you hear that, realize that you're having a conversation and that you can answer, and they will hear you. And you'll see more. People are seeing more already because they're not hiding. They're ready to be seen.
What direct benefit do we have by communicating with them?
So that you will understand what's happening and how they can help you in a positive way, and you can share it with others who may be more afraid. Because many things have been set up to make you fearful of people from other planets, right? Like monster movies from aliens and all that. It's to make you fearful. Well, there's nothing to be afraid of. They're here to help. And if they really wanted to hurt you, they could have done it already. And many of them look like us, look like people. You wouldn't know the difference, except for their vibration is different. And they are much older. A lot of times in Earth years, they would be much older than you.
There are various gods and goddesses from our history and mythologies. Are they as beneficial to us today? And if so, which ones would we want to connect with?
It would depend on which ones you speak of. Like, there's certain people that you might think of that way that are actually ascended masters in our realm right now, but some are just archetypal symbols that were written stories about. So it just depends on which one you're talking about.
So what would be some examples of ones that are legitimate for us to potentially communicate with?
In the ascended masters,
Yes.
so there's Elmoria, there's Hilaron, there's Lady Venus, Lady Nada. There's many of them. If you read Madame Blavatsky's books, many of them were mentioned in her books. Many of them had different incarnations on the earth plane. So, for example, myself, Quan Yin, also had an incarnation where I was not considered female. Farther back in history, I was considered a male or hard, so it was transitioned over time to a more feminine aspect of myself, because everyone has both, but in the very distant past, I was more thought of as a more male figure, and now I'm thought of as a more feminine figure. And also some ascended masters came back as different religious figures through time, or political figures, or such as King Arthur, or, you know, there's different incarnations through history of them that you would recognize.
Would you describe, from your perspective, the phenomenon of karma?
Karma is very misunderstood in your everyday thinking of karma. Like, if you do something bad, it will come back to you. That's not exactly how it works. No. So, karma is something your soul accumulates. But there's always a balance. So it's more important. It's more about the balance between your good acts and you don't judge, so it's not really bad acts. It's just a balance for your soul. It's more important to balance your actions in your soul path. And someone who accumulates a lot of what you would consider bad action would have to reincarnate again and again in a certain level of incarnation to work and rise above those actions. But there's no judgment to it. It's just how many times do you want to repeat that level? Do you understand?
I know we've talked about, in a roundabout sense, some of the cultural or like patriarchy versus matriarchy versus the divine feminine, the divine masculine. Do certain of the ascended masters work with, say, one versus the other? Are they equally important?
Yes, so most of the ascended masters have a counterpart who's the opposite sex. Okay, so there's Saint Germain has Lady Nada. So each ascended master, except for myself, has an equal counterpart. And as I said, I am myself both sides. So farther in my history, I was the male aspect of myself. Now I'm the feminine aspect of myself. But in the other ascended masters, all have their counterpart. Like Yeshua has Mary Magdalene. They all have like a separate one.
What is the most effective way to raise the vibrations in ourselves?
Gratitude, forgiveness, love, compassion. Cultivate those feelings in your heart. Gratitude is very important. Gratitude and forgiveness are very, very important. If you can do those two and work through all the relationships in your life and use those two and focus on those and then get into compassion and love for everything and everyone, you will go a long way.
what would the ascended masters expect us to be doing with the negative trials of the world, if you will? In other words, all the things we deem inappropriate, the wars, the child trafficking, the bad politics. Those of us that are on the path, what is expected of us to how to participate?
That is a very good question. Thank you so much for asking that. We would want you to pray, to ask for help, and to do your best yourself to be an example of what you want to see, and then to visualize the world that you want. Because you cannot focus on the bad and stop it. You have to focus on what you want to manifest. So spend time every day visualizing the heaven on earth that is coming. And that we know is coming to you. But the more that you all can do that, the faster it will happen. So just focus on what you do want to have the world be like. And we know it's hard when you're bombarded with so much that says this and that bad thing is happening. Yes, we are well aware, and we sorrow for those things too. But you have to be the example, and you have to focus on what you want, because you are powerful manifestors.
It seems like a very passive, though it seems active in our minds, but it seems very passive in nature when we have things that are very forceful.
Yes, but your heart is where you need to be coming from, not your mind. And you need to use your heart energy, and that's more powerful than anything. So yes, it might seem passive, but it's really not. You just have to give it the time and attention it needs. There are many people around your planet who that is their only purpose to be here, is that's what they do 24/7 practically, is set in meditation for this. There are tribes that you don't even know about in the jungles and in the mountains that have been there for hundreds of years doing exactly this. And if you can do even a quarter of the time that they spend their entire lifetimes here doing that for the planet, for you, for everyone, not just themselves, then we will find enlightenment soon. And if you need some help with that, reach out to them in your mind and see if you can connect with some of those groups. Because there are those groups in Tibet, I can tell you, and there are those groups in Colombia, in the Kogi Indians. Are just two of the groups, so you can reach out to them in your mind and connect with them, and you will see that that is their focus. And they have nothing but love for the whole world, everyone, and the earth. Especially the Kogis. I'm connecting with them right now. And they call us little brother because they feel that we are just immature, I guess you would say. But they know that they need to survive for the planet to survive because they hold that space.
Where are the ideal places to live in the United States for the next 50 years?
Ideal in what way? Ideal in safety, ideal in needing your assistance? What ideal would you want?
It's a good question. Climate-wise, yeah, I guess you could say safety.
Well, all the areas of the world will be going through many changes. We don't recommend coastal areas because if you want to be safe, because they will go through the worst of the changes. But all areas will be going through shifts. But the Midwest, probably not a bad place, except for the winters. Southern regions will have water problems. So it just depends. What you can handle, but the coastal areas will have the most changes because the oceans will be coming up and replacing some of the land, and there'll be a lot of shifts along the coast.
Is that in less than 10 years or greater than 10 years for the coasts?
In the future, in the near future, yes. Do you have any more questions?
The younger generation, babies and young people, say up to 10, that have been coming through, seem to have a very unique mission, purpose, like they're here to teach us.
Because they've come in with their memories and they've come in with their knowledge. So they just need to be supported in that and recognize that your school system needs to change greatly. The old system won't work for these children. So they just need support in growing to maturity. They already know so much and they're well aware of why they're here and what they need to do. So it's just, oh, they're telling me, get out of our way. Just get out of our way and support us in doing what we need to do.
In the consciousness of humans, how do they sit with plants and animals?
The human consciousness is developed more than plants, but some animals actually that are on Earth are more developed than humans. You're just not aware because they're from somewhere else and they were brought here or came here, so that we don't speak their language, so we think they're, humans don't think they're as intelligent as humans, but they're actually probably more intelligent. They just don't speak English or whatever language you speak. But as you develop more, as your consciousness develops more, you'll be able to speak telepathically with those animals. And then you'll realize how smart they are. And especially the dolphins. The dolphins are just so able to give healing and help with birth and help with autistic children, and they're just amazing, amazing creatures who are nothing but unconditional love. But they came here from somewhere else.
What about dogs?
Dogs. Dogs are special in the sense that they are here to be companions for humans, and they're wonderful companions. And they have their own actual cycle of death and rebirth and reincarnation. Dogs do. They like to reincarnate for the same person more than once. So that's part of their cycle. But cats aren't from here either. Cats are their own thing. Wherever they live, they just do their own thing. Not at all like attached to anybody in particular, really.
There's a new currency about the cryptocurrency, or more of a cryptocurrency coming into play in our country and the world. Is that something we should embrace or have a problem with? Digital banking, I guess, if you will.
Well, it's all of what you all agree to, isn't it? If the collective consciousness decides to agree that that has value, then it does. Much like the money that you have now that's pretty much just paper, unless you agree that it means something. So it's not much different than what you already do, because it's an agreement that certain things have value. So you say it's going to depend on what the collective decides has value or not. If that's the way you decide to do transactions of things for a while, because we don't see it lasting very long, then that's okay. But it won't be the end result, because as you ascend, as you get more and more higher consciousness, there will be no need for money. There will be exchange of energy for different things, but it won't have that kind of financial system anymore. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you have any closing comments for us?
We'd just like to give you all a nice blessing. And if you'd like to tone with me, that would be wonderful.
Namaste.